Hey guys, Prowl 1701 here, and today we're going to talk more about The Well. It's just, one, it's interesting seeing people's reactions to this episode. Two, there are a couple things I meant to mention in my initial review that I didn't, and it's just kind of a fun episode to talk about. First off, one thing I forgot to mention in my original review is the music. I like the music in this a lot. It does a really good job of heightening what's going on screen. The story, especially the first half of the story, there's a lot of tension, a lot of atmosphere, a lot of building that tension, and the music is a key part of that. I enjoyed a lot of the themes here, some of the callback themes. Of course, spoilers are involved in this video. Getting some of the music from Midnight back in there is nice. I also really like a lot of the editing and camera work. I've been really impressed with this season visually. All three episodes, Robot Revolution, Lux, and The Well, have all looked very impressive visually to me. I've loved how they've been directed. I know this is Amanda. She also directed Lux. I love how well they've been directed. I love the cinematography. It does a really good job here. I like their suits. Their suits look really good. I don't feel like the second half of the story quite lives up to the first half. I mentioned that in that original review as well. I really like Rose is the actress's name. I couldn't remember her name in the original review. The Rose, who of course plays Allie, I believe is the character's name. She's so good in this. She is so good in this because she's having to do this neat thing where she's having to play a character that is very scared, but also comes across to the audience as scary, because you don't know if you can trust her. You don't know, especially once you connect this with Midnight and knowing what happened in Midnight, you don't know if she's being genuine, if she's possessed. So you're never quite sure as an audience member, much like the crew, like the soldiers are in this. You don't know if you can trust her or not. If it's all a ploy, if it's all a game, because again, this entity likes to play games. So she's having to convey that, Rose is having to convey that as an actress, that this character is scared while also having to project little things to keep the audience on edge, to be kind of scary. That is not easy to do as an actor, so it's really impressive she's able to pull that off. Little things she does with her facial expressions. I mentioned in my previous review, I liked what she was doing, how she was emoting with her face. It was really well done. I don't like some of the fan theories. Like, there are a lot of fan theories I've seen on Twitter that she's actually possessed like Sky the whole time and manipulating people. One, I don't agree with it. Two, I don't like it. I just don't like it. The fact she tries to warn them sometimes, like, please don't go behind me, things like that. She comes across as very genuine. Now, that could be the creature just having gotten better at it, but I don't think so. In my head canon, she's still her. She wants to go see her daughter, etc. So that plays better in my head. I don't think the creature could have gotten to her because she's deaf. I think that's a key point to the episode, is she can't hear it, so it can't affect her the way it can possibly other people. And I like that. So I firmly believe that Allie is still Allie. I don't really care for the fan theory the other way. I mean, everybody's headcanon is everybody's headcanon. I'm not here to question that. But I don't like that theory. I don't like the theory that the thing even got out. I don't. Now, I've seen when Allie and the two soldiers leave that it looks like there is perhaps 4 people in the airlock. You see the little indicator showing there might be 4 people in the airlock. But I also wonder if that's also the soldier that was standing guard. Was 10 still standing guard? I remember right at the beginning they were like, 10 stand guard. I mean, were they already in the airlock and we just don't see them? Like, somebody could have been out of camera range in the airlock. There could have been 4 people in the airlock. I don't know if 10 ever came in or not. I'm not one of these people that can watch an episode 6 times right when it comes out. I'm just not. So I've seen the episode, and then I've watched a couple reactors do their cut downs of the episode. I think the story does a good job of being ambiguous there at the end, of making you wonder. And that's fine. I like the fact that it doesn't flat out say, yes, the creature survived, ha 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 ha. It doesn't. It leaves you wondering. It's very much... This kind of reminds me... I know a lot of people have been comparing it to Alien and Aliens, and I get that, and I'll touch on that later. But here it kind of reminds me of The Thing. John Carpenter's 1982 version of The Thing with Kurt Russell and Keith David and Walter Brimley. Wilford Brimley. There we go. Wilford Brimley. Love Wilford Brimley in this movie. It reminds me of that because The Thing is an interesting movie because it came out in 1982 and people are still debating things about that movie to this day. Who was infected? Who wasn't? Who was infected first? How did each person get infected? Who was the Thing at the end of the movie? Were either of them was McReady or Childs were either of them the Thing? All of that's still being debated today because so much of that movie is ambiguous. And this episode, for me, pulls from that. There are so many questions and so many fan theories. This is going to be an episode that's talked about for a long time, where people are going to debate these things for a long time, because everything is so ambiguous. How many midnight entities are there? Are there one? Are there two? Are there more? Was it still on Shaira, or whatever her name is, the girl that sacrificed herself and tossed herself down in the well? Did it escape onto the ship? All of these things, it's all so ambiguous. This is going to be talked about for a long time, and it's up, I guess, for a fan to kind of do it in their headcanon. So that's really neat how it does that. I personally do think that it went over to the captain when she shot Belinda, because you feel the wind, you see the rush of it getting behind her, and she seems to know it's on her. So I believe there was at least one on her when she tossed herself down into the well. I don't really care for that last segment. I kind of wish they'd just managed to get out. I mean, I knew you couldn't quite end it there because it seemed a little too easy, but I wish they'd done something different there. For me, the episode just kind of loses a little steam right there at the end. Now, part of that is the 45-minute format. They have to kind of come up with a solution quickly. I think this is a story that could have worked possibly better in the classic format. The Doctor realizing the reflection thing seems to happen a little quick, but that could be when he's talking to the creature. As the creature is talking to him, he's figuring it out, kind of like the Madame de Pompadour thing, and it being a two-way door in a sense where, it's sitting there going, it knows my name, and perhaps while he's communicating with it, it lets something slip and he realizes the reflection bit. That's possible. Again, so much of this episode is up to personal interpretation, which is neat. The bit about using the mercury to reflect is neat. I enjoy that. I'm kind of surprised it just lets the girl go because it involuntarily goes behind itself. It's a little clunky there to me. I love the fact that it manages in only a 45-minute runtime to still manage to use those first half of the story around, maybe, to do kind of a slow burn. It's not easy to do a slow burn on a 45-minute runtime, but that beginning of it, when it's creepy and you don't know what's going on, very atmospheric, sets are very well made, love these sets, to kind of do a slow burn when you're trying to figure out what's going on. I enjoyed that. It just makes the back half of it has to be resolved that much faster, and that's a little clunky for me. Good, but a little clunky. The scene when all of the soldiers are getting killed at once, I don't really care for. Now, unlike some people online, I don't think it needed to be more violent. I don't think you needed to see blood and guts and gore and bones. Because again, family show, kids are watching this. I think it is done very well for a family-friendly show like Doctor Who. I just don't like the fact that I knew when I saw all the soldiers, like a lot of people have compared them to, I'm like, oh, we got some red shirts here. Some of these people are going to die very painfully. But I wish they'd spaced out the deaths more. I guess they didn't because they wanted that slow burn. And again, people are kind of comparing it to Aliens. So you have that initial meeting of the colonial Marines when they fight the aliens. And they have grossly underestimated what they're up against, especially considering they were only using the flamethrowers instead of their live rounds. They lost most of their ammunition, actually, in that initial assault. So you kind of have that, where a lot of them got kind of waxed right there at that point in Aliens. And it was kind of a slow burn getting the movie set up to that point even. They're a little ways into the movie before they have that initial confrontation. You kind of have that format here. It just, for some reason, it comes across as clunky seeing everybody go at once. I kind of wish maybe one or two at least had been gotten before that. But then again, with the script, I don't know if that would have worked. I like the fact that how ambiguous it is of whether the creature got off the planet, because you never actually see it move. Like, it could have right there at the end with Mo, you could have seen the whoosh, but you don't. You don't know if it's just them being a little paranoid and imagining it or not. I mean, it doesn't seem like Mrs. Flood saw anything, but then again, Mrs. Flood probably wouldn't say anything if she did. I still think she's the Black Guardian. That's my call. I think she's the Black Guardian. I think she's the Black Guardian in a new form. But I could see her as an agent of chaos if that's the case. Not saying anything. Just trying to think of some of the other talking points I really wanted on this episode. I do like the visual choices. The aesthetics of the episode look really good. I like how they tie it into Midnight. I like the fact that this does exactly what a sequel should do. Much like Alien and Aliens. It is a good episode in its own right without harming Midnight. Much like how Alien and Aliens are both great movies, very different movies, and Aliens does nothing to hurt Alien in retrospect. This is like that. This was always my big worry about a sequel to Midnight. I've talked about this in videos before if they ever did one, is that it would take away from the mystery of the creature from Midnight and take away from the mystery of Midnight, the episode itself. And The Well doesn't do that because it doesn't explain what this creature is. It doesn't really talk much about it in that sense. It doesn't try to flesh it out, which I like. So this episode doesn't do anything to hurt Midnight being as good as Midnight is. It doesn't dilute it in any way, which is great. And then I also like the fact that much like Alien and Aliens, they're very different films. It's not like they're trying to retread the same old ground. They're both different films, whereas both of them have horror aspects of them, but Alien is very much a horror movie in space, where Aliens is more action-oriented. And this one is like that. Both of these stories with Midnight and The Well are horror stories, but they have a different tone to them, a different feel to them. With, again, you having a much more military group with the Doctor this time, who, I won't say they're overestimating themselves, but the episodes feel tonally very different. Both very good. I think I prefer Midnight over the two. Midnight's solid pretty throughout, whereas again, I feel like the back half just isn't as good here. Still a good episode. We're on a really good run here in season 2. But I do like the fact that The Well feels very different than Midnight, that they're not trying to copy the same feeling. And I don't mind the fact that the Midnight entity operates a bit differently in this one. 400,000 years, it's had time to evolve, it's had time to change, it might operate in a different manner. That's fascinating me because of the time difference. That is really well done. The actual reveal of it being the Midnight entity is a great reveal. I like that scene a lot, and the flash cut we get of the 10th Doctor in Sky, I really like that. Just in case casual viewers didn't quite know what was going on, then they might be like, oh yeah, that one. I like that. I actually like that cross-cutting of old footage sometimes. Somebody did a cool video on YouTube of Stolen Earth and Journey's End, the scene when the Doctor realizes Davros is there, with the voice is different, but the arrogance is unchanged, and they intercut a couple shots of Genesis of the Daleks with the 4th Doctor and Davros, and it was a really cool edit. I liked it a lot. So, yeah, I found this very enjoyable. I'm finding season 2 3 for 3. I don't think there have been any masterpieces. I don't think there have been any S-tier stories. But I think you're getting some solid B edging into A-tier stories here. And all of them have looked visually impressive. I'm really happy what they're doing with the budget and making these episodes look really good. And the fact there have been no bad stories yet, I really, really am impressed with that. It's been a strong season, a consistently strong season so far. And I'm looking forward to seeing more of it. A good episode. And I really like how the music just accentuates what's going on in the story. So I want to know what you think of The Well and the points we talked about today. Comment down below and let's talk about it. Don't forget to click the like button and the subscribe button. I also have a Patreon if you would like to support me on that. There's a link to that down there. I want to give a shout out to some of my top tier patrons, Colin Coney, Sam Venning, Unknown289, and Finn Perkins. I appreciate their support. As I do the support of all of my patrons. It's much appreciated. The P.O. box is down there if there's anything you'd like to send me to look at and review. I love my Doctor Who shelf. I also have a link to the Amazon wishlist and the Amazon UK wishlist down there as well. I've updated those recently, added a couple sonic screwdriver props to them. Check that out. Most importantly, thank you for watching.